Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool and Ethereum ecosystems. My name is Wack. Today is May 21st, and we've got an absolute banger of an episode for you with a whole lot of ETF news and the outcome for that. Got some sad news from Rocket Pool about the Houston upgrade being delayed again. We have an update about Lido and suffering a security breach. And we're also going to be talking about Vitalik's endgame for Ethereum. So stick around and let's find out what's going on.
10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6.
Okay, so yesterday, as you all know, the Bloomberg boys and a whole bunch of other people started reporting that the odds for the spot Ethereum ETF are going through increased from what they were saying around 25%, but they actually use words like it's not going to happen, and I think even at one point it's impossible to happen. But anyway, they're going from 25% all the way up to 75%. But I think just the act of that going up to 75% actually was pretty much meant that it was pretty much guaranteed at that point. What they wanted to see was edits and changes to filings coming in from applicants to the SEC, and we started to get that today. So here the SEC is asked the Nasdaq and the Chicago I think it's CBOE. I think it's that stands for Chicago something. Maybe I'm mistaken. CBOE to update spot Ethereum ETFs filings. So Reuters reports that. So what you have to do is you have to have the applicants and their filings get accepted, and then you have to get the exchanges where it's going to be sold and listed, and they need to get all their eggs in a row as well. And here there's an update saying SEC asked NASDAQ and CBOE to update spot Ethereum filings. So this is great news. We started getting a whole lot more news as well. So Fidelity files updated S1 for its spot Ethereum ETF, and then there's a link to the news for that as well. So that was really great news. And then Grayscale as well, they filed their updated as well. And one of the things that all of these what was happening with Eric Balchunas here, one of the Bloomberg boys, says the ETH stakes is pretty good. A nice look at all the entrants dealing with this fire drill. Hitting the SEC once revised 19B4s return to them by 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, based on a bunch of comments I just received today, for likely approval as soon as Wednesday. So this was actually from yesterday, and then the ones that I just showed you were the updates coming in this morning, which was really awesome to see. Eric here as well kind of explained why his odds were so low. And he said, for anyone wondering why our odds were low up until yesterday, see below. This was a shock, a holy shit moment yesterday, even for people inside the process. That said, props to James Safer for convincing me to stick with the 25% floor, as I wanted to go lower. That's how deafening the silence was from the SEC, and how bleak the chatter was for this exact reason, to allow room for something unforecastable like this. And he's quote tweeting Nick Carter saying, this was basically about the Dems pivoting and throwing a Hail Mary, and it's not forecastable. And then here, Eric says, I think me comparing ETH ETFs following Bitcoin ETFs to a concert where Sister Hazel comes on after Nirvana is probably why a few people are coming on me, and that's okay. Maybe that was harsh, but I still see Ether's ETFs getting 10 to 15% of the assets of BTC ETFs, although James is a bit more bullish. That hasn't changed. And then here, Plainview says, we just watched $100 billion market cap movement on Ethereum ETF news. Maybe this wasn't small potatoes. And Eric says, while I'm sticking with my Sister Hazel metaphor, small potatoes was too dismissive, and I take it back. My bad. So a whole lot of people were starting to call out Eric and James and other ones of these guys. The major analyst who has been calling for approval all along, Nate Garassi, I didn't actually see him take a victory lap, so that's really classy of him. But these guys were getting a lot of stick. Like if you just look at their replies, people accusing them of unconscious bias and update your playlist, and like how he's talking his books, etc. So there was a lot of criticism coming these guys' way, and they got called out for it. Now, today, as the reports were coming in of what was happening, like with Fidelity and others, we started to see that one of the things they were all doing was removing the staking element from their applications. So here Eric says, looks like you got a final answer as to whether the SEC will allow staking. No. as this is the first amendment of any document to roll past the SEC 180 and their comments to issuers yesterday. So yeah, they're all working towards removing the staking element that they had in their applications, and that is all going away. So there will be no staking in these ETFs. And I'm going to get back to that in a minute, but let's talk about this first. So here Scott says that the ETFs are still being listed under commodity-based trust shares rule. And now what this means is that this will not be a security, this will be listed as a commodity asset. And with this going through, then I think this, even though people have been saying for months that the SEC have painted themselves into a corner by approving the futures ETF as a commodities, based trust, now they can't change the rules and say it's a security when they themselves approved it in an accelerated manner. Well, it turns out that a lot of that was potentially withdrawn or taken back, but what's ended up happening is I think this will eradicate any doubt at all about Ethereum status as a security. If they approve this, then we'll know that it's a commodity, and that's really cool. And here you can see the updates for more of these applications coming through. And then Lazarillo says, would this be more of an admission that ETH is a commodity than approving ETH future ETFs was? Not complaining about ETH futures themselves. And Scott Johnson says 1,000% more. So this will finish the discussion completely, and then the discussion will become what other crypto assets are securities or commodities based on this allocation, this designation for Ether. Jake Chavinsky here says, he follows on that about it being Ether being commodity. He says, this means if the SEC approves the spot Ether ETF, it will have to admit that unstaked ETH is not a security. That would be a major policy move from a commission that has consistently refused to acknowledge any asset other than BTC as a non-security commodity. Have we earned it? And I think we absolutely have earned it over this last year. James Sefar here, he's bumping this, he says, from earlier in the month, on May 9th. This is bumping this from earlier in the month. I've always been in the camp that I didn't think the SEC and Gensler would flat out call Ethereum a security here. If they approve the ETFs, and they'll put that to rest. I wonder if they'll try to thread a needle and call staked ETH a security. Now, we're going to be talking about this a little bit more in the episode, but the idea here now is that if you are holding spot ETH, it's all good. That's a commodity. There's no problem with that. However, if you are selling staked ETH tokens or any kind of staking, possibly that would be some kind of security. Now, it's going to be really interesting to see where the lines are drawn. If there are lines at all, that will be drawn. But that is definitely something to pay close attention to and have a good look at. I'm going to be talking about that later as well. So here's the superstar Nate. He says, key reasons why I maintained at least some level of optimism on spot ETH ETFs boil down to these two tweets. It's really that simple. Could toss in shifting political winds as well, but that's less of a factor. So the first one here is, the one from a few days ago where he was saying, what will the rationale of a denial be? They've painted themselves into a corner. There'll definitely be legal challenges if they deny it, however they deny it. And the second one was this about Hester Pierce and him saying that, I can't shake her comments, and her saying that we don't want there to be like a clown show basically around the approval like there was around the ETH ETF approval. And then there's this information about Grayscale here as well, withdrawing their lawsuit and trying to figure out what exactly was going on. But the clown show thing was the main thing. So the idea being that, the spot ETH ETFs were pretty much identical to the BTC ETFs. There was no need for the SEC to go back and forth. Like literally everything has happened in like 3 days potentially. That's how quickly you could get the amendments done. And the fact of the matter is that they avoided that clown show, the circus that came with those months and months of discussions about approvals. Well, all of that was avoided this time, and I think the market still hasn't fully understood what's going on. Actually, let me just have a quick look at Polymarket. Sorry, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing right now, but Polymarket is at 68% chance. So there's still a 32% chance, according to Polymarket, that this doesn't go through. Now, I think that's ridiculous. I think that's like, you can make 50% free money. Of course, not gambling advice, not financial advice. If you buy the Yes token at 69 cents, and then, in a couple of days' time, you can sell it for $1. That's a 50% increase. Yeah. DC Investor here has an interesting take. He says he's actually replying to Crypto Gaming Sage here, says the impact on ETF on ETH is likely 5 times bigger than BTC. Everyone knew BTC wasn't a security before ETH. The same can't be said about ETH though. Approval of an ETF means clarity on regulatory side. With that, all of the challenges portfolio-wise would come with it, and obviously all of this added to the fact that there's an ETF and money can flow into ETH without problems. Also, something that also makes it way bigger is how the ETF being approved in the US means a lot of countries will start being on the fence about it being security or not. So this is not just national clarification of the rules, it's actually international clarification of the rules. And DC Investor really liked this. He said this. Everyone knew BTC wasn't security before the ETF. The same can't be said about ETH though. Approval of ETF means clarity in the regulatory side. With that, all of the changes portfolio-wise which would come with it, and obviously all this added to the fact that there's an ETF and money can flow to ETH without problems. Marceau here replies by saying also the market cap for ETH is 3 times smaller, so inflows will likely have more of a nominal impact, less or no forced selling by state liquidations, and there's Grayscale here will have learned their lesson from their outflows of the BTC ETF conversion, keeping their fees really high and losing so much of their ETH. Like I think half of their BTC from 600,000 down to 300,000. And Marceau says that hopefully they'll learn their lesson and will reduce the fees to prevent those outflows, which of course the outflows equal selling. So if there's no selling, then that will help a lot as well. And then here, later in the day today, the news sites, Barron's here, financial news firm, are getting news out that the SEC told exchanges is leaning towards approving spot ETFs, and this is such a departure from what we've seen before. Here, SEC staff on Monday told exchanges where the products would list that is leaning towards approving them, according to people familiar with the matter. The agency provided comments on the applicants that, if resolved in time, could result in approvals as soon as this week. So that is amazing. This, of course, follows on from yesterday's news, but just giving a little bit more detail around what happened there. So the thing that you all want to hear about is what has the impact of price been? So just yesterday, while we were recording the episode, we saw that this was the largest one-day market cap gain for ETH in its history, and it gained $70 billion at the end of yesterday's candle. The price movement here, Fubar says that it went from 3,700 at the beginning of the daily candle to $3,661, which is an increase of $591. So that is the biggest candle in Ethereum history. Now, on the official approval coming hopefully tomorrow or Thursday, I've been saying for a while that the week the ETF gets approved, we might see like 100% increase in that week. So that is not trading advice, not financial advice, none of that stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised if we get just more and more legs going upwards before there's some kind of retracement. Here, if we have a look at Binance, yesterday when I was recording, we were at around 3,500. Well, since then, overnight we moved all the way up to, well, actually this afternoon we moved all the way up to 3,841, and right now we're sitting at around 3,725. So the movement has been absolutely phenomenal. It's really moved a lot. So congratulations to all of those of you who are holding ETH. Okay, moving on to some Rocket Pool news now, and the first piece of Rocket Pool news we have here is from Langers, and this is some sad news. So he says, hey everyone, last week we updated the Immunify bug bounty program with the Houston codebase. Midweek we received a bug bounty submission from a community member, Halululo. The bug was assessed as a medium severity. The bug allowed a delegate to grief their delegatees by preventing them from overriding their vote if they disagreed with the delegate. This is an important feature of Rocket Pool's delegation system, so we have developed a fix for the bug. Although it's obviously great that the bug was found, it has put us behind schedule for release. Additionally, it's highlighted that we need to be scheduling more time between releasing the code to Immunify and releases. With this in mind, we will be adjusting the Houston launch date to June 17th, 2024. Like many of you, we are keen to see Houston live, but we need to ensure that the new challenges are thoroughly tested, audited, and reviewed. A big shout out to Sigma Prime again for being incredibly responsive. We would like to thank Halululo for the submission and for his testing efforts on Haleshki. We're very proud that these amazing contributions are being made by the community. Now, I was upset that this has happened. I've been waiting for Houston for a long time because there's so many downstream dependencies from Houston that we need to happen. I think it's going to be a really bullish update for Rocket Pool, even though it might not look like that on the surface. But of course, we don't want a bugged update going live. That would cause more damage than it would do good. So begrudgingly, I'm saying thank you to Hello for finding this bug. As disappointed I am by the delay, I understand why the delays happened, and it makes sense that the delays happened, but it's still, I really just want Houston to get here now. So yeah. Okay, so yesterday's episode, I covered some drama in the community, and part of that stemmed out from this Immunify bug bounty changes. During the show, I said I didn't understand what the changes were. Well, Knoshua here did a great job of putting this thread together and explaining what the changes were. So he said the Rocket Pool Immunify bug bounty was recently updated to include Houston code. At the same time, the classifications for critical bugs were changed. He says, see the cached bounty page, and partially downgraded to high based on dollar value in detail. So then he's got some quotes here about like direct theft and how that used to be critical 500,000 bounty, and it got moved here to be certain values. And then there's about direct theft of user funds, and some of that is still critical, but some of it has been down to high with value less than 250,000. That's $25,000 bounty instead of $500,000 bounty. And then there was some other changes as well. So here, Knoshua says, my initial impression was that this was about reducing cost, given the payout either remains the same or is reduced significantly. However, Langas has shown me that this is not the case, and the goal was to have more sensible payouts. To check sensibility, I had a quick look at some other staking programs for comparison. So here, Stader have linear scaling, 10%, with a $100,000 minimum and a $1 million maximum for theft or permanent freezing. Stakewise, $200,000 fixed for loss of user funds, independent of dollar impact. And Lido have a linear scaling, 1% for loss of funds, with $100,000 minimum and $2 million maximum. So here, Knoshua goes on to say, it's worth noting that the bug bounty is fully run by the team and not the PDAO. So these are just my 2 cents and not meant for a formal proposal. So he said scaling would be better, and then he says scaling can go both ways. And big payout jumps based on impact should be avoided, as they create perverse incentives for white hats. And the impact of a bug can fluctuate over time with ETH value, RPL value, or factors like number of mini pools in a certain state. This is here the payout would be 20 times more if the impact goes from 240,000 to 260,000. So there's some strong incentives for potential white hat to sit on a known issue until the threshold is met. Linear scaling doesn't produce strong incentives to wait like that, because payouts are kept proportional to impact changes. And Knoshua says, sorry, not Knoshua, Fornax here says, I think we should have some early incentives for users to disclose bug exploits. And then Langas says, thank you for doing the comparison. My initial thoughts are that high reward is too low. We left it the same because the intent to revisit the rewards after Houston at some time on mainnet, but with the categorization changes, this probably needs adjusting now. The linear approach is interesting, and you said it prevents the payout jumps. We'll have an internal chat about it this week. So I think this is really interesting stuff, and I'm glad that some of the issues that came up yesterday with the drama, it seems like everyone's kind of trying to work past those and work together to make Rocket Pool as good as possible. So I'm really, really happy to see this. Okay, so next we got some bullish news from Jasper. So here he says, some bullish takes from Jasper. He says, crypto is about being trustless and minimizing existential risks. Permissioned operators running a majority of stake is an existential threat to any and all LST protocols. Permissionless the Ethereum way. And of course, he means that Rocket Pool is the most permissioned. And this is in response to something that we're going to talk about a little bit later. But carrying on from that, he says, the ETH getting a spot ETF, while all issuers have to remove their staking portions and the SEC continues to go after custodial staking services, is a glorious tailwind for decentralized staking options like Rocket Pool. And I said, not many people realize just how important decentralization really is. And finally, another take from Jasper here, replying to Adam Cochran about the staking element being removed from the ETFs. So Jasper says, with the new era of Rocket Pool that's coming, that's with the new tokenomics updates that we're working on, he says node operators will experience roughly 2x normal staking yield without having to take risks with ABSs, if they can even get enough stake delegated to join soon. So Jasper's like really hyping up some cool stuff here, and he's just letting you know that, look, even though staking right now is going to get really bullish, and decentralized staking is where it's at because it can't be stopped. Well, kind of. Okay, next we got some text update from Val here, and this is about the IMC elections. And of course, for those of you who don't know, the IMC is going through a new selection update of members. There'll be 9 new members, and here is the text for the vote. So Val says that he wants this to come online today. Most likely it'll come online in the morning Australian time, so in about 9 p.m. to midnight Eastern time, potentially somewhere around there maybe. But here there's the language of the text, and we'll go through this tomorrow. But there's just links to profiles for all the different people who are nominated, and that in the final list is Guterres, Samus, Val, Jasper, Non-Fungible Yoakum, Dr. Worm, Phil, me, Astanita, Yuki, Halulo, and Lee. So that is a really wonderful slate, and I'm so happy that that's how it's looking. But yeah, I'll talk you through the final text once it's live tomorrow. So there's been a lot of talk about EigenLayer and how they are paying people for positions, advisorship positions. Well, it seems like they also made an offer to Jasper. Jasper here let us know that they made an offer to Jasper and he turned them down. Val made a joke saying even after meeting the team, which is in reference to a statement that one of the EigenLayer team members made to Val, saying, we know that you'd love to work with us after you meet the team. And then Halulo said, okay, but what if they are like same thing but one more zero? And Jasper said, then I wouldn't be here right now. And Jasper says he really liked the team. But it's really interesting that is that they are trying to poach the best and the brightest from different places. We're going to be talking about that a little bit more as well. I just wanted to mention that Jasper was offered a job with EigenLayer. Very, very interesting. Okay, so yesterday we talked about the RPL ratio in the episode, and at the time it was at 0.0057. While overnight, with that huge ETH pump as it was happening, the RPL ratio slipped a little bit and it went down to 0.00555. That's the lowest I saw it. It's going to be really interesting to see how it reacts in these next few days. Right now, at the time of recording, the ratio is 0.00567, so it's gone up a tiny little bit, but definitely not as much as it was before the approval yesterday, or the day before that even. I mean, it's come down a little bit since then, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next few days with a lot of ETH beta tokens and projects kind of getting some tailwinds here from the ETF approval, and also from the idea that ETH is not a security, how that's going to impact these protocols as well. But I think it's going to be Rocket Pool's turn soon. That's not financial advice. Okay, talking about competitors to Rocket Pool, here Lido released a statement talking about security incident disclosure, and this is from Izzy saying on May 14th, Lido DAO contributors were made aware of a security breach that affected an active node operator using Lido on the Ethereum protocol. The security breach occurred a few days prior and affected a machine that had access to an encrypted key material backup from mainnet validators. It's unclear if the encrypted key material was accessed, copied, or otherwise manipulated, nor if the decryption material for that data was found, or if the encryption was otherwise broken. In response to the identification that the encrypted backups may have been accessed, and for safety reasons, the node operator decided to set their depositable keys related to Lido protocol to 0 to avoid receiving any further deposits, and perform voluntary exits of all possible affected keys in a staggered manner over the following days. And all of their validators have now been exited and fully withdrawn, and some Lido DAO contributors have been involved in helping support the node operator investigating the incident, understand its full scope and potential impact. Disclosure was not made public immediately as to not call unneeded attention to the breach until the validators had been fully exited. While the node operator is performing a more extensive review of their security and backup process, the DAO may deliberate as whether the node operator should continue in the active set or not. And then Numic here make the incident disclosure, and then there's that discussion going on. But this was, I think 1% of all stake. So here Jasper replied by saying, "Why are you still using centralized staking services, Anon? This is SEC bait." And Hani Abu had a take here as well, saying a Lido node operator computer was compromised by malware the computer had an encrypted private backup for their validators. This is from professional node operators that Lido says you can trust. So yeah, and in the Rocket Pool community, I brought up the topic for people to talk about. I said, what's the deets with Lido's security breach? And non-fungible Yokoma, he had a good answer. He said, my read is that one of the node operators, developers downloaded a virus on their Windows machine. And as long as that origin is in fact correct, and they are correct that this was an untargeted attack, there's not much else to do. Exit everything and see if the DAO will let the operator back in. So the idea is that if this was a targeted attack, then they would want to somehow try to steal that ETH or get the validator slashed. But if it was just happenstance that this person got this virus or malware on their computer, then the person who was stealing data or whatever might not have known what they'd gotten their hands on. And thankfully Lido was able to act before they were able to slash or steal the crypto, which would have been disastrous. Okay, moving on to Ethereum news now. So in yesterday's episode, we talked about Justin Drake taking position with EigenLayer as an advisor. And in that disclosure, he mentioned that at least one other Ethereum Foundation worker was invested in EigenLayer, and at least one other worker was also an advisor. Well, today, Dankard Feist, whose name you might know from Danksharding, he has made a statement that he is also working with EigenLayer as an advisor. He says, together with Justin Drake, I've recently decided to become an advisor to EigenLayer on the same conditions. I'm taking this position personally, not representing the Ethereum Foundation, and with a focus on risks and decentralization, therefore fully expected to take contrarian views on EigenLayer. And then he says, I think EigenLayer will be a major benefit to Ethereum if it's done by someone with high integrity. I trust the current leaders, etc. And then he says that restaking comes with significant risks and principal agent problem. And then the second type of risk is additional load imposed on staking by running restaking services. Another risk is restaking infrastructure being used to mount attacks on Ethereum protocol, such as bribing attacks. Something many fear is that Ethereum would lead to a dystopia of dangerously designed restaking services that stakers will have to opt in because they'll provide the most staking yield, etc. And then he says, I would never take this position if I do not see significant benefits to Ethereum that come from restaking. And then he mentions some benefits like give some of the benefits LSTs to individual stakers. In an ideal world, Ethereum would already have a huge data layer. And then he says there are other things that EigenLayer can help us implement before the protocol gets to it. For example, block pre-commitments. Obviously, these require extreme caution as they come with high risk as well. So Dankard's announcement was met with interesting results. People had a lot to say about it. Here, MilliX says, if a couple of Ethereum Foundation members being advisors to an ecosystem gets you all hot and bothered, just wait till you find out that 2 ETH co-founders went on to build ETH killers that are still trying to compete to this day. One of those, of course, is Polkadot with Gavin Wood, and the other one is Cardano with Charles Hoskinson. And then Lefteris had an interesting take. He says, I have some thoughts on EF researchers' conflict of interest. I'm really sad and disappointed. Disclosing compensation package is a must. On that aside, I'm appalled that we have EF researchers, the people who guide the protocol development, take 6 to 7 figure compensation packages from protocols. Even if you pinky promise not to let this cloud your judgment and do it on a personal capacity, that's impossible. And this is clear as day conflict of interest of key decision makers of Ethereum protocol development and should absolutely not be tolerated. And then there's some more about here about credible neutrality, etc. And then anti-prosynthesis isn't the entire point of decentralization that no single party can push changes to the protocol. Don't get me wrong, it's good to have transparency, but the key decision makers of Ethereum protocol development framing seems inaccurate. And then Lefteris says, apparently I'm a few zeros off the compensation package offered. It's more like 8 to 9 figures in the $20 to $50 million range. Now, I don't know those numbers and where Lefteris is getting those numbers from, but that's a whole lot of money. Madison Jameson also has a take. He says, in the perfect world, I would agree, as he's replying to Lefteris, he says, in the perfect world, I would agree with the sentiment completely. I also believe disclosing advisorship details when you work on Ethereum's protocol layer should be a requirement. However, I'm also convinced that this type of pure idealism could result in good, honest core developers and researchers leaving Ethereum protocol development because they aren't allowed to partake in the same advising situations as others, including many devs on layer 2s and MEV projects commonly do. And then he went on to say, Lefteris' take is morally where I align. I try to lean pragmatist in these situations because I've seen too many communities succumb to over-idealism that ignores the big picture realities and hurts itself. Okay, and next we have this screenshot from a Bankless episode that took place I think a year ago, 10 months ago. It says there were 7 people on this restaking alignment podcast 10 months ago. Most were relatively negative on restaking. All 6 people in the picture now have eigenbags by angel investments, advisory, or by employment. The 7th person on that podcast was Vitalik. Sriram may be the best to ever do it. So he's just done like what this enshrining plebs is saying, that Sriram's done such a great job at getting all his critics on side and working with that. Okay, next we're going to talk about some Ethereum news after we've moved past this like staking news and restaking news and stuff. So here Vitalik has an idea of what Ethereum is going to look like in the future. And he says, I think we need to complement Protocol Guild with basic infrastructure. Yeah, so like getting to Vitalik's tweet, he says, I think we need to complement the Protocol Guild with basic infrastructure guild. This could cover things like high-level languages, cross L2 token bridges protocols, zk EVMs, light clients, portal network and extensions, anything token-free, operator-free, governance-free that is not part of L1 but has value ecosystem-wide. Set the standard that these things are ecosystem-wide public goods and not products of individual companies. Though, like Linux, individual companies should absolutely be welcome to participate and even take initiative. So this is like some of the things that get put into place to help, Ethereum develop. And then Vitalik went on to kind of explain what he thinks his end goal is for Ethereum. And he says, in my opinion, in 10 years, all rollups will be zk and will commit blocks with finalized state routes to L1 every slot. It will take a lot of infrastructure and proof optimization to get there, but that's the clear end game. So I think, and Umar Roy says, I 100% agree with this, but I think it will take less than 10 years. And yeah, this is absolutely amazing. Like this is like a lot of work to get to this point, but 10 years is a long time in crypto, and it's a really long time in crypto. But I think the Ethereum team, the way it's set up right now, the teams are set up right now, and the Ethereum Foundation with their research, this is definitely possible. And like Umar Roy says, this will potentially happen even in less than 10 years, which is really exciting. Okay, today we got news from Uniswap, and Uniswap, of course, are being served a Wells notice. Well, this is their response to that Wells notice. This is Wells submission on behalf of Uniswap Labs. This is written by like a whole bunch of lawyers, and in this response, it's a whole lot of pages long. Let me see, it's 43 pages. So I'm not going to go through all of it, but it goes through factual background of like who Uniswap is. It explains under plain language of exchange definition, Labs does not operate an exchange. They say that legal precedent establishes that Labs does not meet the definition of broker under the Exchange Act. Because Labs does not take custody or touch users' tokens, Labs does not exchange and clearing activity. It says Labs did not engage in the offer or sale of unregistered securities. An enforcement action would violate the major questions doctrine and Labs' due process rights. They say an enforcement action would harm the public interest and undermine the Commission's goals. So you can read the whole paper, but from what I've heard so far, Uniswap did a really great job in this, responding to the SEC. In fact, going so far as to saying that the SEC has no jurisdiction over Uniswap because Uniswap isn't under their purview. From what I understand, it's a really good paper, but I haven't had a chance to read all of it yet. Okay, we get some really exciting crypto news. The price pumps and protocols start thinking airdrops because they want to really tap into that positive mindset. Well, the first one here is zkSync. So we're getting block news saying that zkSync are planning a token generation event this week with the airdrop in the middle of June, according to various sources. So it looks like, in the next couple of days, we'll be getting some information about a zkSync airdrop, which is absolutely awesome. Here, Avo has launched a pre-market for it, saying the new pre-launch listing zkSync ahead of the highly anticipated zkSync token launch. You can trade zk on Avo today. The token has a 21 billion max supply. So a 47 cent implies a fully diluted valuation of just less than $10 billion. And that I guess that's what they're kind of aiming for. However, the token is trading, it started trading at around 50 cents, which is what they said. And it went all the way up to 90 cents over the last few hours. And now it's back down to like 67 cents. So that's looking good. I think this kind of throws out the airdrop document that I shared on the show last week by saying that the max will be 2,500 tokens. with a value of around 50 cents. That's like $1,250. I think that might be a little bit on the low side, but I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work out. I guess we're going to get official details very, very soon. And speaking of airdrops, here we had this image released from Taiko, and Taiko, of course, is another layer 2, and they are what they call a base rollup, and their Ethereum equivalent zkEVM. And what they're doing is they are using they're actually doing some really exciting stuff, and the more I learn about it, the more I'm getting interested in it. Here, MilliX has a tweet about the Taiko airdrop saying, Taiko launching their token alongside the mainnet deployment is, in my opinion, the most decentralized way to launch. Kicking off mainnet with zk proving decentralized based sequencing and an airdrop from the Genesis block has to be one of the most aligned rollup launches to date. The fact is that Taiko only has testnet so far, so people are speculating that it might be that, they airdrop to users of other L2s, kind of like how Tier did. It might also be that they give a distribution to stakers, like Starknet did. So there's some interesting ideas at play here. Now, Taiko is one of the few airdrops that I've either received or potentially will receive that I'm actually interested in potentially holding on to, because I think they've got some really good ideas coming out of that project, and it might be interesting. And of course, I've not been paid by any of these projects to shill them or anything like that. Okay, Marty Party here has some political insights into what might have happened with the SEC stuff and how this is shifting like political winds. So he says more evidence something has changed at the administrative level, and what he's doing is giving an example of some companies. He says, we see now a second crypto company move its headquarters back to mainland USA. So Circle announced moving back to the US last week, and now Galaxy Digital officially moving via this S4 filing as a Delaware corporation. So these are companies that left the US, probably because of uncertain headwinds, and now they are coming back to the US, potentially in the face of regulatory favorability, which is really cool. Ryan Sean Adams has a little conspiracy here, kind of connecting the dots, which I thought was really cool and I should cover in the show. So he says, I'm just connecting the dots and some speculation. Why why Prometheum planned to launch this week, right? Why this week? So yesterday's news was that Prometheum, was going to start taking custody of Ethereum, and that would be as a security. And Ryan Sean Adams explains, he says, because this was the week Gary planned to deny the Ethereum ETF, but now it's looking like he can't, because he got a phone call from the last week from handlers telling him to approve the Ethereum ETF or it will cost Biden the White House. So this is a service no one wants and no one's going to use, brought to market. So Gensler had a pet example for Congress to show someone who came in and registered, and now Gensler is going to completely abandon them by approving the Ethereum ETF. It's actually hilarious. So Holistic says everyone can enjoy this one. But yeah, that's definitely some very, very interesting news about how they became they were being propped up as the poster boys of come in and register, but now they're just being thrown in the dumpster because the political winds have changed. Okay, Austin Federa says, call your congressman. And he says that there's a lot of stuff happening in crypto right now in politics, whether you are Democrat, Republican, whether you're an independent, whatever you are, call, and you are pro-crypto, call your representatives, because there's a whole lot of crypto stuff going on right now. And now is the time for you to strike while the iron's hot. He says, calling might be daunting, but most of the time you leave a voicemail, state your name, your address, your phone number, to tell them that you are one of your representative, and explain to them why you are saying what you're saying. He says, don't worry if your wording isn't perfect. You're no politician. Just state as clearly as you can what you think and what action you'd like the congressperson to take. So if you want to call them, tell them that you want them to vote in favor of the FIT21 vote that's happening tomorrow, because we want FIT21 to pass. And then here Logan Dobson says, I can personally confirm from my time on the Hill, in almost every office, every single call and voicemail is logged, reported on, and given up to the member for their awareness. Every single call counts. So definitely get on that. And other things happening here is that Nancy Pelosi may actually support the Republican industry-backed crypto bill hitting the floor tomorrow in defiance of senior Democrats on the relevant committees. So it seems like the Democrats have told their members that they are not going to maintain a party whip for this vote. So if Democrats want to vote in line with the Republicans, they won't have any repercussions for that. And I think seeing the way the Senate vote went last week for SAB 121, it looks like this bill, the FIT 21 bill, is going to pass the House and the Senate quite strongly, and it'll be up to Biden to see what he does next. And with all this excitement, I thought I'd finish the episode with some hopium being injected into your veins. So here, Raoul Pal, he says, one more thing I've been talking about for a while. What the hell happens to the price of ETH if there's big demand for the ETF and 30% remains staked, which is off market, and burning makes supply deeply negative as activity rises? That could create a banana zone squared. So Kadeen says that's music to my ears. And Raoul Pal says, I talked about all this in Charleston where everyone was miserable. It's all playing out. ETFs next as soon as ETH hits new all-time highs. And finally, Evan here kind of gives a recap of what the last 24 hours have been like and what's been going on, and about the Wells notice and stuff. And then he says that these ETFs won't have staking. That's the good part, is the higher staking returns should temporarily quiet concerns that are leading to discussion of changing issuance curves. This should be the best we could accept from this round of applications. And he gives some more information about what he's happened and why he thinks it's good the way it is. But then the final thing that he talks about, which is interesting, he says, just for reference's sake, BTC price at the filings was $25,000 or $490 billion market cap. The BTC price around approval was $48,000 or $940 billion market cap. This is a 92% increase. He says the approval odds were priced at 70 to 90% for months. BTC price now is $70,000, which is a plus 46% from approval and plus 180% from filing. He says ETH was around $3,000 or $360 billion market cap, smaller than BTC at filing time, with no inflation and 10% approval odds. The same percentage returns would mean $8,400 ETH. This would add $650 billion to his market cap. BTC added $900 billion to his market cap from filing to now. So that would, I'm not actually going to explain that any more than Evan just did, but it's looking like things are looking pretty good for Ethereum right now. And I'm really excited of this next period and seeing what happens this week and going forwards. So on that note, I'm going to end today's episode. I'm actually going to be traveling for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week, but I'm going to try to record episodes while I'm traveling. If I do miss a day, I'm sorry about that, but I'm going to try my best to get episodes out. But anyway, thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you're all enjoying this week a lot, and I will see you all hopefully tomorrow. Bye.